Lisa, it is so fantastic to have you in the studio, in the country. Welcome
For
to
a
India
chat.
now, and to your old love, Bombay.
I know. Well, I don't think of myself as displaced or not living in India because, living in Dubai basically is, there's a bridge between the two nations. So I'm always in and out. And I think that once Bombay, so I'm saying Bombay. No,
We
Mumbai,
still say Bombay.
We say
come on.
Bombay,
Right?
We say
don't worry.
Bombay.
it's infected your bloodstream. That's it. You're a goner for life. Right. So I'm a Bombay girl. I'm a Bombay girl.
But you've
and
lived around the world.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
You're
also true.
Canadian. You grew up in Toronto. You've lived in Paris. You've lived in Greece for some time.
No,
No.
that was a quick visit.
That was, sorry, I forget.
I lived in
The UK?
Milano, London,
London.
Paris, New York, LA. Did the whole.
And
big
after
city
all of that, you
circuit,
still say that at heart I'm a Bombay girl. Why?
for sure.
What is it about Bombay? I can never explain to people when they say, "Oh, I'm going to India. Should I take a pit stop in Bombay?" And I'm like, "Oh, maybe not. because I
Maybe
think
not.
of the-
I know.
The streets and the
I know.
stray dogs, and at least Delhi looks. Parts of Delhi are beautiful because
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
the capital. But in Bombay, what saves us? And just the Taj. I can just go to the Taj for the night, the Taj Mahal Hotel, and then go straight to the airport from there. So
Yeah.
what is it? What is
Yeah,
your
that's
idea of
exactly. That's
Bombay?
not my version of Bombay at all. I think again, having come here so young, and even though in a sense I grew up in Canada, I actually grew up in Bombay
Okay.
because landing here at 16 alone, making my way in the big bad city, although it wasn't quite as big and as bad as it is today.
And surviving and thriving.
But like actually creating this relationship with the city that it was like almost like a living entity with me. And so I grew up in Bombay, 16 to 30. Those are what you call your formative years.
Mhm.
And I always call the city, it's like, it's my father, it disciplined me. It kicked the shit out of me many times over. And still I remained, during that period of time and learned a lot and grew. That's the way that I describe it. I don't even like Bombay's not even a city. It's like this entity that enters your bloodstream. So I think, that's the easiest way. But of course, I also had this very special relationship having landed at 16 at a time when it was not glamorous to come to Bombay. Today it is, right? Today, all these half-breeds like me, half blood, half Indian, half something else, are obviously flooding Bombay
Yeah.
and, looking to make their mark or
Yeah, in
achieve
fact, they're
fame or
replacing our
whatever it is.
models now. Most campaigns, at least that you see, ad
Yeah.
campaigns have Eastern European or these half mixed models from
Or
around
mixed
the world, yeah.
models. And that just wasn't the case back then, because, Bombay, first of all, wasn't as accessible or easy or even as glamorous as it is today from the outside. But there's something in the water. There's something in the relationships that we made at that time in the 90s. Like those relationships that I made, they sustained me. I still know those people today.
Mhm.
And even we've gone off in different directions. We've definitely diverged. But those relationships really nurtured me and fed me and at times restricted me. And at times, it was a lesson I learned through these people. But I don't know. It's like this weird sentimental thing. So I have to say, for me, it's Bombay in the 90s.
Okay, not the current
Which-
Bombay.
Not the current Bombay. Not the current Bombay. Look, we tried to live in Bombay twice.
Mhm.
In fact, we even moved back at the tail end of COVID. And it was my dream to come and
I remember how
relocate
excited
here with
you
my
were back
kids. I
then.
was so excited.
It's
Sure,
like,
you
I'm
saw
back,
me.
I'm back. in
I'm
my own
back.
city.
And finally, my husband was out of the corporate world, so he didn't have to live in Hong Kong or Singapore, which is these other big cosmopolitan places that we'd lived. So I was like, okay, good, we can live here. Enrolled my kids in a school, went about my routine. And then something started changing inside me, like energetically, I was starting to feel overwhelmed by the city.
Mhm.
I was sick all the time. Like there's just the practicalities of life.
Yeah.
I was sick every 2 weeks. The kids were sick. The traffic. I hibernated. I never left my apartment. I said, if you want to meet me, you come to me.
Yeah.
And I just realized that the relationship had shifted. And I have a much better relationship now living outside of India. Like now I relish it. I'll even very cheerfully sit in 2 hours of traffic because I don't have to do it every day now, you know? So it's my relationship with Bombay of the 90s. There's a strange sort of sentimental connection and seed. I still love Bombay because, you know, obviously there's a coherence and there's a consistency that's lasted, but a lot of things have changed.
You were just speaking before we started this conversation about how if you had to come today and try to get into modeling, it would have been very difficult.
No, not even difficult. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it. First of all, I think just nature-wise, I mean, both of you know me, but Shonali and I have had these conversations. I'm genuinely an introvert.
Yeah.
But I was somehow able to navigate this industry or these systems in the 90s as an introvert, because you would be called to your shoot. You would show up, you do your shoot, and you would go away, and nobody would know you. Nobody would follow you. There was no paparazzi. There were no stalkers. There was nothing. You could still live a semi-normal life outside of what you were doing. And so that was one thing. Secondly, my friend Colleen Khan and I were discussing this because, in fact, you know, the funny thing is I had seen Colleen's image in magazines, Glad Rags, even before I
remember your Glad Rags cover.
Okay, that's a different story, but I had
That's a big story.
That's a big story.
No, I don't want to even go into that story, but
Okay.
I was talking about Colleen. I saw her in Glad Rags, I think on a vacation, like once when I was coming by. And I thought it was just very intriguing because, again, she looked very interesting and very confident, very like body confident.
Yeah.
And I had not seen that in India before then as much.
Mm-hmm.
So it was funny. I kind of upheld Colleen as like almost like an idol, you know, like a model.
Lodestar.
Yeah. And I didn't want to become a model. I literally did not want to become a model. But having said that, we all of a generation literally lived that fairy tale of being discovered. I don't think it happens today. Today, everything is very deliberate. Today, everything is a lot more mechanized and
It's all well
organized.
plotted
And well plotted and all of
Systems
that.
all in place.
Systems are all in place. But we were genuinely of that generation where it was so organic. You would walk into a party in Bombay and somebody would spot you and say, hey, do you want to come and, you know, maybe shoot this campaign? Or are you interested in being a model? And often we would say, I don't know, but, you know, I'm free tomorrow, so I'll come by. And there was also such a beautiful, almost naivety, you know, of actually on a stranger's word, showing up alone in a photographer's studio and, you know, embracing whatever there was, what would roll out. And so we're of that generation, say Colleen, myself, and definitely quite a few others, where we stumbled into the industry. Literally, it was that discovery moment. Yeah, we remained for, you know, everyone has their own individual reasons why we remained and continued rolling with it. But I think that, you know, there would not have been a loss if we had not also done it, because it wasn't part of our life plan.
Mm-hmm.
Did it enhance our life? Probably in certain ways.
Yeah.
But we weren't looking for it. We weren't groomed for it. This is even before all the entire Miss India kind of took hold of everything in the mid-90s, you know, when Ash and Sushmita and all of these girls.
This was before that.
This is
much
before
before.
that. This is much before that.
Much before.
But now, little girls from the time they're 8 and 9 are looking at social media and they want to be Insta models and they want to be actors and they want fame. You know, Kiran and I often have been
I know, it's just like,
what do you
You
feel?
can't help it. We
What
giggle, right?
do you feel about what's going on in this planet or younger people today? It's not the same planet where we live, but what is going on? What is your view about it? What is your take on it?
I think the main thing is like we have to go to the root cause, which is big tech and social media, right? The root cause is big tech. Like if you go back and I mean, you know, I told you about this. I've been waging a little bit of a campaign about excessive tech in my kids' school. So I made it my business to go deeper into all of this. And I co-founded a tech platform, and my husband's in fintech and all of that. So I'm clearly not anti-tech. It's very hard to be anti-tech, first of all, in today's world. But I think that we have to take a step back and understand what this war is being waged over today in terms of what is big tech's main objective. And it's your attention and your data.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
it, right? It's become an attention economy.
Yeah.
That's all it's about. And tech has been devised in such a way that you've got behavioral psychologists, you've got, you're tapping into the best minds and scientists in the world today to formulate their apps in such a way that you get addicted.
Yeah.
That's it. It's as simple as that. You have to understand that on a fundamental level and then make your decisions around that. Like, do I want to expose my children? And then you can also understand that your children are addicted. And again, it's so hard. And you look at like a lot of these tech titans today. You have to ask yourself, why do they not send their children to schools that are tech heavy?
Yeah.
Why do they ban
Their children don't have
screen
mobile
time?
phones until a certain
Or they
age.
send them to the green school in Bali, which was like my
dream.
dream. We almost went there, but we landed up somewhere else. And at the same time, obviously, you can't completely deny it. You can't deny the force or the utility
Yeah.
of
So what do
it.
you do as a parent?
So what do you do as a parent is the question. Like, I'm going to be a hard ass. I'm going to be that really unpopular mom because we have these conversations. See, unfortunately, you guys were the test generation. You
I
were the
know.
guinea pigs with
we
your
were
children,
totally-
right? Like, we weren't having exactly the same conversations about like how much. Should we give our kid a smartphone? Should we give in to the pressure? But mama, everyone else has a smartphone.
Everyone.
Da, da, da. And they communicate only on Snapchat and da 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 da. And I mean, I'm going to be that horrible mother that's just going to say no
We went through that.
and give them a dumb phone. Like now, by the way, there's an interesting movement.
I know.
Back to
Nokia
the-
is back to Nokia and
It's
dumb
true.
phones.
Do you know,
It's
I
so
noticed
cool.
think I
something
want
very
one.
interesting in the US this time.
Yeah.
Those people are not into WhatsApp at all. They find it intrusive because
Yeah.
WhatsApp shows you when you're online.
Mm.
Americans prefer using iMessage.
Yeah, they're not into WhatsApp.
You know,
You're right.
Secondly, when you go to anywhere within South Asia and even the UK, I noticed people are always glued to their phone.
Yeah.
In the US, I noticed people were not glued onto their phones. Oh, I know TikTok is a big thing there,
Yeah.
but you see people because they do so much outdoorsy stuff there.
Mm.
Okay.
Well, I think it was where you were in the US.
No, in California, I didn't see people glued to their phone. And I
Yeah.
think it depends on where you live. In India at the time that our older one asked for a phone, a smartphone.
Yeah.
We did put up a fight and we put it off. And I was telling you yesterday, I used to ration a television timing. I used to say you can only watch TV on the weekends. And I did manage to pull that off. But a stage came where all her friends were on chat groups with each other. And you
Yeah.
also don't want to go to the other extreme where
I
the
know.
child feels left
Exactly.
out.
Exactly.
And then feels bullied for some reason because she has no clue about what's going on in the classroom.
But that's like therein lies the rub, right? Like, and how much can we do as parents as well? It's
I know, it's
already
very
a
tough.
lot.
It's very tough.
And
This is
then
a
we
very
carry
tough
that
time to be a
guilt.
parent, Lisa.
It is. Thank you very much. And then on top of that, I'm a geriatric mom.
Of two children, twins of
Exactly, of twins.
Firstly, you're not a
When
geriatric
those
mom.
Girls.
So 16 going on? 6 going on 16, you said.
Yes, they are.
They're too cute.
They're incredible.
Mm.
And we all want to cultivate strong girls,
Yeah.
right? Like that's definitely the party line these days. And I stand behind that. But who has to suffer?
Yeah, mama. You'll
Mama.
be the, yeah.
Mama
All the
still,
arguments.
you know,
Please
and, yeah.
get
All
used
the
to hearing
arguments.
you're the meanest mom in the world
Yeah.
over and over again.
I
I'm
hate
happy.
you.
I
I hate
invite
you.
it.
hate you.
I will use it as a vocabulary lesson. I'll say, think of another word instead of mean. like find me a synonym to mean. Like you can't say mean.
All
You
the
could call
time.
me mean, but call me horrible,
Yeah,
terrible,
I know. At least improve your
unjust.
language while you're at it.
Work on the language skills.
Use Hindi also.
What about Bengali? Do the kids use
or
Bengali?
Bengali.
Okay.
How has motherhood changed you? I know I'm privy to the fact that you didn't want to act in all the shows that were being offered to you on OTT because you said this is what you enjoy most and writing is what you enjoy most. And clearly you've made your choice between all these different other avenues that were open to you to dedicate your time to. So what does motherhood mean to you, and how has it changed the Lisa Ray that you used to be before you became a mom?
I think that right now, there's, literally the Lisa Ray of whatever, 30 years ago bears no resemblance to the Lisa Ray of today. And I think that that's
wonderful.
It's a beautiful, it's like been a beautiful revelation for myself. But I want to step back for a moment, because I want to say, I always said to myself, though, I want no woulda, shoulda, coulda in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to leave anything on the table that I might regret later. So I did the opposite of most people. So, some people choose to get married and have children young. Marriage is negotiable anyways today. It's fine. But to choose to have children young, and that's great. I chose the other one. I thought, like, I want to get everything out of my system. And I really feel that I did.
Yeah.
Do I still have ambition? Yes, particularly in writing and in other things as well. But I do feel like something has just taken a hold of me. This entire motherhood thing is also very scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crept up on me. It's like somebody has like drugged my drink or something like that. I'm like, who am I? I wake up some days. What are these words coming out of my mouth? What am I saying? But seriously, I'm relishing it. But I also feel like I earned it in my own way, because as I said, I switched up the formula and decided to do it the way that felt right for me.
Mm-hmm.
To wait until literally I was almost 50. I mean, we had our girls at, like, I was like, I don't remember now, 46, 46, 47. And so I'm loving every moment, because obviously I'm much more mellow. I do have, I hope, a slightly larger perspective about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I guess, career-wise, in terms of that part of my career, I don't even think of it sometimes as career, but, being in front of the camera, it's just not something that I feel like pursuing. If something drops into my lap, like 4 More Shots literally dropped into my lap. It was quite a funny story, because I was very resistant, and Rangita and I were like on chats every week. I kept changing my mind and then switching it up. And then I finally decided, because the girls were very, very young then.
Mm.
But in a way, a lot of my friends said, this is the time when you can do things.
Okay.
They will have no memory. Just leave them with a really good nanny and let them.
Also true, yeah.
Which I mean, that was a choice that I took, So I enjoyed that experience, but I don't feel that I want to like sacrifice the time, because even towards the end of shooting 4 More Shots, there were times when I was having this existential crisis sitting on the set and thinking, because a set is that, it's a lot of hurry up and wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sitting, it's like
Waiting.
empty time in front of you. You don't know when you're going to get called. And I was just sitting there thinking, like actually making lists of all the other things I could be doing with my time.
Mm.
And time's become a lot more precious now. And, and I've become a lot more protective and assertive about my time and what I want to do with it. When I was younger, it was more like easy to please. And then plus, when you're younger, you want to hang out with the crew and you want to absorb everything. And now I'm like, please, just like, let's get this over with. I need to go home. I need to take my pills. I need to be comfortable. You know what I mean? It's a very, very different stage of life. Not to say, as I said, that I didn't enjoy the process, but I was literally thinking I could be writing my book now. I could be with my kids. I could be in a museum. I could be, sitting at home, putting my feet up and reading a good book. And I don't know why. Maybe it's kind of a trigger for me. Having spent as much time cumulatively as I have on set since I was really young, I can't make that time productive outside of the shooting. Mm-hmm. Like I know, obviously it is. It's like, a lot of empty space. I could be working on a book. Mm-hmm. I could be doing things, but all I end up doing is like, calling people and saying I miss them. And, oh my God, it's so late. I hope that they pack up with me. And my hair's not looking good. I don't like my hair.
Mother. She is such a devoted mother. And then
really?
You are. And I realized this, I gave up working for the longest time when I had Zara, our older one. But a younger mother is not a very wise mother. And I've seen you, the way you deal with them from the time they were babies, that maturity and treating them as individuals and respecting their feelings and yet trying to discipline them. And I see you doing that. And I realize it very often that, yes, the stage at which you have your children in your life is going to define who they are going to be when they grow up. Because
I wonder.
So it's really, there's a beauty to becoming a geriatric mother because you bring with it a world of wisdom along with that.
I've just been enjoying this phase so much. I mean, today when I work out, we're talking about working out at the gym. Now, I've again had a lifetime of working out, forcing myself to work out in order to remain thin and appear a certain way. Now I do it to keep up with them.
Oh.
And I'm actually having so much fun with it. So I feel super strong. And ironically, I'm probably the fittest that I've ever been in my life. Because
Really?
before I was skinny, but I was not healthy. I was not fit. I was a smoker. I was eating. I was anorexic, bulimic.
Yeah.
Everything. I've been through that entire journey. And today, I genuinely go to the gym to feel good. I still find it kind of boring sometimes, but I just I submit, I surrender. And I see the difference in terms of like my energy levels, keeping up with the kids.
Yeah.
I'm
You
not
have to be fit for them now. Yeah.
That's what I do. But like this coming from imagine, I literally never wanted to have children.
Yeah.
And I have to
How
be
did that
super.
switch? What made that switch happen with you?
I think two things: cancer
Okay.
and my husband
Okay.
and Jason, both kind of worked on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't immediate. It wasn't like I woke up after my stem cell transplant. I need to be a mother. It wasn't at all like that because I had swung so far to the opposite side, but I realized that all of those coping mechanisms, like I was independent to a fault. I was in charge of my destiny to a fault. These were my belief systems. And therefore I believed that having children would slow me down, would impinge on my independence, would impinge on my freedom. And then something happens and there's this download that you receive for whatever reason that true freedom is being comfortable with wherever you are in whatever scenario. Like true freedom is not actually jumping on a plane at every whim and running away from your problems and relocating, which is what I did for a long period of time. I mean, did I have a ball? Yes, I did. But at some point there's a reckoning. And, I realized also getting married, because I also never wanted to get married, which is why I got married at 40 I realized that in a weird way, getting married was the first step. It wasn't easy. We fought a lot because coming together at 40 is also not a joke because you come in with your baggage, you come in with your opinions, you come in with, almost like actually ready for a fight. And, but I realized again, in a weird way that, if I had been a kite for so much of my life, like literally no one was hanging onto that string.
Mm-hmm.
So I had absolutely I had no place to return to.
That's a lovely metaphor.
And I felt that now Jason was hanging onto that string. He still let me do my, he indulged.
Let you be a
let
kite,
me not
but
say
he-
let me,
yeah.
because that also sounds, it's not like I
I
need
know.
permission from someone, but he did. He kind of gave me that grounding. And then having kids, I don't know, something just started, right? Like it was that, maybe also I was running so hard and for so long that I didn't listen to that inner voice.
The voice asking you
Right?
to have babies.
Asking me to actually now it's time.
Mm-hmm.
And I also it's incredibly selfless. Like I look at them and I think, oh my God, I want to give them everything. And I literally want to start fading into the background now,
Mm-hmm.
which is not easy. Like if you think about it, as much as I say I'm an introvert and I never courted the attention, at the same time, I have gotten a lot of attention for a lot of my life. But there's a part of me that wants to push my girls front and center, not as actresses necessarily or anything like that, but I want them to claim their space and in the light. And I kind of want to, take a few steps back in order to do the things that I feel like I've always wanted to do in my life.
Such as?
The writing,
The NFT?
the reflection, my spiritual journey is super important to me. And you know what? Just be lazy.
Because you've been
Like
working
just
from the age of 16.
chill.
You know,
So,
she'd
you know,
gone
you
and
don't
become a monk, right? For some time, or not?
She did.
Yeah, you were a nun.
Seriously, it was just literally the fork in the road. I was so close. I was so close. Next life.
Yeah.
Next life. Maybe previous life happened. So someone once told to me, I had like a spiritual mentor who said, because, you know, I was up in Dharamshala and I spent 6 months on retreat there. And I was getting all these realizations and I was feeling like, I am so cool.
And
Like,
how old
I'm
were you at the time?
the most spiritual of
Which
everyone.
phase of your life was this in?
This was
30s, right?
late 30s.
Okay.
Late 30s. So I still remember coming down from the mountain, literally coming down from the mountain and meeting this woman and saying, you won't believe it. You won't believe the things I saw in my past life. I have a mission. I am, you know, a monk. I'm a great spiritual leader. And she's looking at me and she's like, okay, so you did that in your last life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to do that again. This life is for exactly who you are, who you're embodying right now. And that's your comfort zone. Now you get out of your comfort zone. Now you live in the world. And that was like such a cool message that cut through all of these kind of fantasies and sort of conceptions
But
that we
what
have.
drove you? I know you talk about it in your book, but what drove you to, seeking that degree of asceticism in the first place? This is before your first diagnosis, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
much before.
before.
Yeah.
It was before. I was always, that was my main mission. Like I led again a parallel life. And that's for a lot of my life, it was these two parallel tracks. One was, of course, the work that I was known for, but the other one was always seeking. And I would use the opportunities that my work gave me to, like, say, nip off to Tirupati, nip off to, a Buddhist retreat. That was what kept me going.
Did you
That
shave
was
your
it.
head off at Tirupati? Don't tell me.
No, but I did shave my head off for cancer.
Yeah.
And and before that, I shaved my head off. I had this
For
one
water?
moment. Water 3 times. Actually, no, 3 times for water.
I want to talk about water.
Absolutely.
But
But before
continue.
that,
Continue.
when I was in the middle of sort of my modeling career and I felt really invisible and not seen, just sort of,
Mhm.
obviously typecast. I remember going to a friend's studio, Chinwin Lee. I don't know if you
Yes.
remember Chinwin.
Of course, yes.
Very dear friend. Incredible.
Where's
Matt.
Chinmali now?
He passed
Oh.
away.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago. So he was a very dear friend and he was my refuge. We worked together professionally and then I would go and cry on his shoulder. But I remember sitting in his office and saying, I'm tired of how people perceive me and things like that. And I was like, maybe if I cut my hair, they'll take me seriously or something like that. So I literally took a pair of scissors and hacked away at my hair. Because I was always playing with this duality of like the external self with the inner, like what would you hold in your inner self, and wondering, how do I get people to see the inner me more? Well, obviously I have to kind of alter the external me. So I used to do all that crazy stuff.
Okay.
That's why you see there's nothing on the table for me now.
I've been there, done that.
I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
And gotten a lot out of it. It brought me here to becoming this mellow auntie today. I'm a very mellow auntie. Isn't it interesting when now the younger generations looks at you and they won't see everything that you've been through necessarily, right? Like they might just sort of pass judgment that just like how what
We
we
did.
We did, yeah.
We
That's
did the same.
Yeah.
Right?
But this
It's so-
generation's also not doing that because they're not looking at you. They're only looking at
They're looking at
themselves.
phones.
They're only looking at their phones and they're only looking at themselves.
It's really
It's alarming.
I think it's scary. And it's leading to so many issues. And I'm like scared, especially for women, girls.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Body image.
it's statistically, it's affecting girls much more than
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
Body image, of course, epidemic of loneliness, all those things, but those things apart, Lisa. I want to come back to 4 more shots and water.
Okay.
Before
Okay, we'll bring it
we
back.
lose. What I found very interesting in your trajectory was the fact that you were a very established model at the top of your game,
Mm.
and you gave it all up to go and train
Mm.
at that point. That was
Yeah.
a huge risk you took.
Yeah.
And of course, A, why did you choose to go and train? And B, when you came back, you took a film like Water. Of course, it's Deepa Mehta,
Yeah.
but that role totally de-glamorized. something that you're completely not known for? What made you take that up? And then again, 4 more shots. Again, a very bold role.
Yeah.
So do you seek these roles out, or do you resist them until you can't resist them anymore? How does it work for you?
No, I only seek them out.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to do because obviously I didn't want to pursue mainstream Bollywood. At one point it was an option and it was, people were very clearly knocking at the door. And I had a lot of I just didn't want to do it. There was something in me that I felt like I would be extinguished.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that it would destroy me on so many different levels, and I know that sounds very, very dramatic, but I know that it would have. The kind of person that I was and what I was going through. I was also very, very vulnerable emotionally. So anyways, but I did like this notion because I finally said yes to a film called Kasoor.
Yes.
And I worked with Vikram Bhatt, and he was a very interesting director who really mined me psychologically. And that was really interesting to me. I didn't know that acting could be like that because I thought acting was all Govinda and Jhatkas and things like that because you didn't see much else in the 90s.
Right.
Remember the 90s.
Of
Please
course.
recall the 90s.
Yes.
Please
We're trying to
recall
forget them.
the fashion police of the 90s.
We're trying to forget
Please.
those.
I actually quite enjoyed the 90s. I missed the 90s.
I know there was a lot of fun, but I was like, do I want that to be my legacy?
Yeah.
No. So I really wanted to do there wasn't a lot of alternatives, but there was a nascent alternative kind of cinematic industry that was growing up in the 90s. But none of those filmmakers would look at me.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. I was just getting calls from the big filmmakers that everyone else was aspiring to work for. Those filmmakers would just, kind of brush me aside. And
why did you think that was happening? They thought you
because
just
of my image.
the glamour.
I mean, again, we do forget that perhaps one of the positive things about the digital age is that we all individually have a platform where we can express ourselves, where people can connect with who you are. You can choose to express yourself and say, this is who I am. In the 90s, there was nothing.
Nothing.
The mediator was like Stardust. Right?
Sure.
And Filmfare and all these things,
Yeah.
because people could not access who you actually were. And my image at that time was so overwhelming that including filmmakers, thought that was who I was. They didn't, they just assumed that I was
From
this
what I
glam
vaguely
doll.
remember, I don't think she had a very approachable image back then. It was very sort of
No.
ice maiden.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
didn't socialize, and I
Yeah.
didn't do any of that. I
Network
didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I really wanted to do alternative films. So I had this great experience with Kasoor. Strangely enough, I today get a lot of feedback about Kasoor. People love the music and they still come up to me and talk about that, which is bizarre to me, But it was also a little bit ahead of its time because it was a female-centric role and it was dark when everyone said, no, don't do dark films. Anyways, but that whetted my appetite to learn more about this acting thing. So that's why I took myself away. Plus, I was in a very toxic relationship. Let's not discount that. I was in a horrible relationship and I felt like I had to distance myself and leave Bombay. There was no other way out of this. And so I just took a flight to London and settled into being the life of a student. Because I also felt that I missed that. I missed that because 16.
16, you started working, yes.
And there's the Bengali in me. There's a little guilt complex. You didn't go to university. You didn't, do what is expected of you and things like that. And my father has his PhD and all of that stuff. So I felt like I wanted to experience the life of a student. Where would I do that in Bombay in 1997? There was no avenue for me then. Or this is the late 90s. So it was a combination. There was no grand plan. There's never been a grand plan.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed drama school. It was very elevated in London because again, a lot of it is mining yourself. It's almost like therapy. You're lying in order to access your voice. You have to access your trauma. You have to lie on the floor and scream and
Just
cry.
peel the layers basically and bring them to the surface. Yeah.
And to understand human nature, to peel away the layers. What does this line mean? You can read it 5 different ways. But what's the actual intention behind the line? So I really enjoyed that process. I went into it very, very deep. And I actually thought that then I wanted to become a theater actor, just tread the boards.
Did you go to RADA?
No,
Huh.
I went to a place called ALRA, Academy of Live and Recorded Arts, which is part of the accredited London drama schools. Like RADA is one, Lambda is one. For instance, I got into Lambda and Webber Douglas.
Really?
But I
Okay.
chose not to go because it was for a 3-year course.
Okay.
And I was 30. And ALRA gave me a 1-year course. Plus, it was live and recorded arts. So there was some integration of like camera work. And I felt like that's
needed.
good. Plus, it was held in this incredibly Gothic building that used to be an insane asylum,
Oh my God.
like in 1857.
So what did
And
you?
I was sold. I was like, I want to go to an insane asylum. I love this building.
Yeah.
And the building was genuinely haunted.
Tell
No.
us stories.
There were turrets. And I remember once we were being called to some class was being held in one of the turrets in the left, wing or something like that. And we all went up there and we met the teacher coming down the stairs rather rapidly. And he said, we're going to use another room today. And we said, why? What means? Don't worry about it. So the rumor was that he saw a ghost.
Oh, lovely.
But did you
And there
ever
was-
seen one in that? In
What's
the time?
that?
Did you ever
see
see
one?
one in the time that you were there?
I felt things.
Yeah.
I'm an empath.
Tell
I don't know. It really was. See, and I'm very open to these things.
And she's also
I get a
very-
kick out of it.
She's very sensitive to energies. So you
I'm
would
very
have-
sensitive to
yeah.
energies, but I also get a kick out of, I don't know. Look, I grew up on Monty Python. That should say a lot. I really like absurd things. Like that's my taste. And my friends also in Bombay in the 90s, we were all like a little bit weird and absurd. And that's our taste. So I loved, first of all, the irony or the juxtaposition of these young drama students who were leaping through the air, learning how to fence, juxtaposed with this, cries of these beleaguered people in the insane asylum, echoing in the walls, kind of a thing. Like that really appealed to me. So that's how I chose my drama school.
Sounds
Well
like
chosen.
fabulous.
That should tell you a lot about me.
The right criteria to go for choosing.
Is your institute an ex-insane asylum?
Yes.
No. Cross.
No,
Yeah.
cross. No,
Will not
forget it.
apply.
No,
We're
we're
not
not
coming
applying.
here.
Too respectable.
Yeah.
So, that really appealed to me, but I learned and grew so much. And then I wanted to become a theater actor. Like then I became an idealist. And then I literally got the offer for water while I was studying.
While you
came
were
through.
there at the
Yeah,
drama
while I
school.
was there, Deepa sent me an email at Christmas, and it was a very intriguing email. And because there had been so much controversy around the initial filming of Water, they had to do a rebranding. So they called it River Moon, and they claimed that it was a romantic story and things like that. But I read the script, and it was the most lyrical script I'd ever read in my life. And I was weeping, and I said, yes, yes, yes to this opportunity. And I actually had to petition my drama school to allow me time off because they never give you time off to do professional work.
Mhm.
They would actually normally kick you out of the course.
Mhm.
So they made an exception for me and allowed me to go off and miss one of the semesters to shoot this beautiful film and live in Sri Lanka and all of that stuff. That was the kind of cinema that I wanted to be a part of. I had zero aspirations to be in mainstream cinema, as it were. And dare I say, honestly, zero aspirations to be famous.
Mhm.
I just saw it as a burden. I saw it
In
more as a
what
burden.
way?
I wanted to be good at what I did and
Mm.
maybe recognized for being proficient and really good. That was my idea of success,
Mhm.
but not
Not
famous. Like fame had eaten at my soul in the 90s. It really did.
Yeah, that's the reverse
know.
of what's happening today. People chasing, as we discussed earlier,
Just the fame.
without
And
the
I
work.
think, unfortunately, so just basically to bring it back to that, unfortunately, I think, first of all, you don't realize what you sign up for. Fame is incredibly, not just fickle, it's incredibly hollow.
It's a cruel master, actually.
It's a cruel master, but it's hollow. What is it that you are actually wanting beyond the fame? Like, what is it that you think fame is going to give you? Is it going to give you a sense of self, a sense of validation? Obviously, it's that. It has to be that. Because
people
fame
want
in and of
fame
itself.
because I think it'll open doors for them. I mean, I've never wanted to be famous except when I'm at the airport.
Money will do that
And
also.
I want to go through the private channels and not have to like take my laptop out and
Yeah.
stand in the long queue.
I have to admit, I used to enjoy that. I used to breeze
Right?
through places.
That is
in
the
the
best part of
90s,
being
nobody
famous.
asked me.
And you get
Lisa
restaurant
Ray,
bookings.
come, please come,
Right?
you know.
And you get restaurant
Doesn't
bookings.
happen. Yeah, I used to get but then after a while, that wears thin. I'm telling you, it wears thin. And let me tell you, the interesting thing is that, like, I feel that I was given a great blessing, having been just famous overnight at 16. That
Mhm.
is not common. That doesn't happen. And I really didn't have to work for it, right? It wasn't something I was, kind of
Yeah.
working for. I wasn't even a child artist or anything like that. It just
Right.
happened. So the cool thing is that, again, what is the narrative in society today, right? You have to be rich. You have to be famous. Your life will be solved.
And you have to flaunt it. You have to be rich. You have to flaunt it.
And everyone has to know it on social media,
And
right?
be
You have to
beautiful.
have your own,
Yeah.
like, a special hashtag,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the narrative. But all of this defines like the peak of what you can accomplish.
Yeah.
And the assumption then is that your life is golden, right? It's set. You basically, you don't have any more problems. But not just me. Forget me saying this. People who are far more famous and successful than me have actually written or shared their message that, listen, this is nothing. This has not sustained me. So, I've been climbing this mountain and I get to the top and I find that there's no view. And I'm frozen from the outside in. And I realize that I have to descend from the mountain in order to find something to sustain myself, right? But like basically experiencing at a young age, I realized that first of all, fame is not all it's cracked up to be at all. The recognition, sure, it was nice, but on a very superficial level. But
Yeah.
I'll give you context, right? Like I was suffering deeply and psychologically and emotionally. So the fame did not plug those holes in my soul
Yeah.
at all. And I always do this, like I do this in talks, right? Like I give some context. I say, again, if we believe that this is the height, fame, recognition, money, all of that. But if emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, I'm here. Can we define that as success? Like,
No.
is that actually success?
What's the point of it all?
What's the point of it all? And it might sound like a little bit of a lecture. I don't want to be sitting here preaching, but when
We
you
are not,
actually
Shanti.
experience it, when you experience it, you'll see through it, and that actually releases you, or at least in my experience, it released me from chasing after those ephemeral things. And actually, I was able to, I think, live like a really richer, deeper life.
Mhm.
Even through all the ups and downs that I experienced, like I was released from actually caring or giving a shit about what people thought. I never did that much. A little bit, yes, it's there. I think it's human nature. I didn't. So I was able to release myself from expectations, go off and have this experience in London, go off and have, it's okay. Whoa.
Is your phone okay?
Is your phone okay? I thought something else fell over.
We've had doors falling and stuff.
Yeah.
So what's the phone?
Okay, so it's all good. But like go off and go on these retreats. I was able to like tune into what did I want outside of what the world was telling me
Mhm.
that I wanted. So I never pursued that. I've always been a rebel. And when I was younger, I wanted people to know that I was a rebel. And today I don't flaunt it. I don't care what, how you perceive me, but I know how unconventional and rebellious I've been. And that's really sort of marked my journey. And it's been super incredibly, it's like my life has been this buffet. My life has been a feast. It has been a movable feast
It has.
that, that I've been able to take with me wherever it is. And I'm including the difficult times as
Yeah,
well.
sure. So you've always been a spiritual person from the early times. I mean, in your book, you write about it very eloquently. And then, of course, cancer happened to you.
Mm.
How did that affect your spiritual journey? In a sense, did you become more of a seeker? Did you feel compelled to search for more answers? How did that?
I'll tell you, I went the opposite way.
Okay.
I went the opposite way.
Interesting.
Because I think I had actually laid the groundwork.
Mhm.
I was like, there was a point where I was meditating for like a substantial amount of time every single day. It was hard for me to be in normal society because I was too sensitive, you know. And I also didn't, I don't know, it was hard to explain. I saw through people. I didn't feel that it was appealing to be in conventional society. So anyways, but I laid the seeds in so many ways and did my groundwork and dealt with all my delusions, self-delusions and otherwise. And I think when I was diagnosed, it all kind of came together. It actually grounded me in a weird way. Because I was that kite, always, you know.
This is before Jason even, right?
This is even before Jason. It kind of grounded me into the practicalities of life. I kind of reaffirmed with myself, yes, I want to live. Number one, I want to live. I want to get through this. And I think that I will. I'm quite sure I will. But all that spiritual seeking was just there. I didn't have to perform it anymore. I didn't have to run after anything anymore. And I had that first taste of that fact. You know, we hear this like so many times. Everything you need is inside you.
Yeah.
Have you heard that? Everything you need is inside you. It's true. But you don't know it sometimes until you're in a crisis. And it's too loud and we don't have enough faith in ourselves. And sometimes when your back is against the wall and you have no choice but to trust and have faith, that's when suddenly something blossoms out of it from inside you. And at the same time, like I had these techniques and stuff like that, but I started taking life a lot less seriously after cancer.
Okay.
I was very serious. I was this very pretentious, serious young person for a lot of my life. And I let it all drop.
Something, right? When you got,
I was 37.
Yeah.
All that dropped. And I decided to actually have a lot more fun in life.
Lovely.
And I decided not to be so serious even about the spiritual seeking. Like it started becoming a lot more organic and it would come whenever it would come. And I still enjoy it it's still a very big part of me. It's not about the enjoyment, but like a level of self-awareness is there and a level of faith that like, I don't have to drop everything and fly to California to do this incredible fast in the middle of the desert. Like I would have before, you know?
Lisa, when your cancer came back, there's that whole anecdote of the doctor you asking the doctor, please sit down, because he was so unnerved by the diagnosis and you were quite calm about it. Where did that strength come from? And this is the second time around. You're already a spiritual person. Surely there's some hope inside of you that, you know, this is it, I've beaten it. Did that make you question anything?
No. I just, you know, all I felt was, I remember sitting and thinking, what did I miss the first time around? Like there's something that I missed. And, you know, so I put that together and I was quite patient. I missed, you know, I felt like I had not shifted my lifestyle enough. I was not in enough alignment with who I was.
Okay.
And so this was that other knock. Just remember that this is what you're meant to do. This is what this is about.
After how long did this come? After the...
It happened, it's a lovely story. I relapsed about a month after my marriage.
Yeah.
We just moved into a new place.
My goodness, the timing.
And Jason used to hide in the bathrooms and
He used to hide in the bathroom crying so that like he didn't know how to handle this. But I had this, I was still a little bit self-centered, I have to admit, because I was like, yeah, but I know I'm getting the man. Can't you hear? I was actually hearing this little voice inside me saying, it's cool. It's all good.
Amazing.
But like, you know, going back to motherhood though, here's the interesting thing. I do think that motherhood makes you way more vulnerable.
Yeah.
It does.
About like, I was so super fearless, I think, before kids.
Yeah.
You know,
Because you only had yourself to lose.
Because you only have to think about yourself. That's
right.
the biggest loss, you know, and hubby, that's okay. But with children, oh my God. It has made me like a lot more, I guess I question about how I would handle things today with children.
Yeah.
I like to think that I still have that.
You know, that's such a thing, and which is
it's
why
the mother's cross to bear. Honestly,
yesterday when I baked a cake for Zara, and then I posted about it saying I baked after eons.
Oh, I saw that.
Right?
Yeah, that was
and
really...
then I wrote this whole story about how my kids forced me into baking because their best friends' kids used to bake. Mums used to bake, and they had this. My mum made this muffin in their lunchbox, and my kid had nothing to show for. And so she said, you never bake for me. And I started baking, and it brought me a lot of joy and comfort. And then over a period of time, the girl said that, you know, Now your baking has gotten too healthy because I was substituting all the unhealthy things. And also now we are sick of eating all cakes and cookies and cheesecakes all the time. So now
Never
just
happy, are they, these kids?
never. So now, mom, it's done. We're enough. It's done. And now, when our older one is visiting us from college, the other day I felt like baking for her again. So
Yeah.
I baked for her, and then I posted about my journey through this and how much comfort it gave me to do it, because that's what motherhood does to you. And so Zara writes, "Oh wow. For me, it was just some breakfast you made for me." I mean, but then right?
Little ingrates.
And my old younger
Little
one
ingrates.
said, "Love you, mama," because she could see the emotion. Because in the end, I wrote about how I'm about to become an empty nester again soon. And first, my life was entirely about all my days and hours were filled with children. And after they leave, I'll just have days and hours left. So she said, "Love you, mama. But next time, can you make something with white sugar, please?" and then one of the followers, one gentleman writes saying that why is it only about mums? Dads feel the pang of separation too. But no, it's more than that. I mean, which isn't to question father's love. When there's extreme turbulence, I love turbulence, by the way. I love air turbulence.
What?
Yes. And when there's air turbulence, I'm so excited. But I
Bring you closer to your mortality.
says to enjoy
She
it.
likes to risky things, I think.
I get that.
But then I suddenly say, "Oh my God, but my children." Like I say, "Oh, you know, if the plane goes down right now," and come on, we've all thought about it at some point of our life or the other.
we have.
If a plane goes down now, it won't be so bad because it's so quick. And then say, "Oh my God, my children."
But the children.
Right?
I think it should be like a meme, but the children.
But the children,
You know,
yeah.
it could be like,
So for my children,
I'm
as a
going
mom-
on safari, or I'm gonna bungee jump for the first time in like the Sahara. Where it's just like, but the children.
But the children.
I'm going on my first, I don't know, think of something. I'm going to try surfing for the first time,
Yeah.
even though my joints are very fragile. But the children.
But there'll be a sell-by date for that. Shonali,
What?
I don't think but the child right now. I'm like, okay, I'm done. He can survive.
No.
How old?
I tell
How
you,
old?
because he lives
21.
with you. He lives with you. And
I think boys are a little bit
Yeah.
different,
I'm
honestly.
He's done with me and I'm done. I mean,
easier
I'm around.
said
Yeah.
than done. Wait till he moves out, lives in a house by himself, has a fever,
Yeah.
and tells you, "Mom, it's 103 and my
Mm.
girlfriend's not here right now." Then we'll talk on this very podcast.
Yes.
I'll wait for that.
This is a conversation you have to pick up
Yeah.
Later.
as time goes
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
But I like, it's incredible also, motherhood, as I said. It's just like, sometimes it really takes me by surprise. I feel like my brain has been co-opted by like some malevolent spirit.
Spirits,
You know
yes.
what I mean? Like the stuff that comes out of my mouth. And the fact is that like, mind you, the only good thing is I do use them as an excuse sometimes.
All the time.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
the time.
Yeah,
Like, because I have social phobia.
Yeah.
So like,
Do
in
you
order
hear
to
your
not go
mother?
out.
Do you hobnob with the other mothers at school? I can't see you doing that.
That's no.
Mm.
I call it like the mother mafia.
Yeah.
No, the
Yeah.
cult of the mother. The cult,
Yeah.
the mother cult. There's a couple, fortunately. I have a very dear friend now that I made in Dubai, who's another writer, Avni Doshi,
Yeah.
who's incredible.
I know. You're
And she's younger than me, but she has kids my age, and we're very like-minded. So she's my mom friend, but our kids don't even go to the same school.
Yeah.
But it is, and you can see what's interesting. And I would want someone to tell me this if they saw this quality in me. You can see how a lot of mothers that I see in Dubai, but it could be anywhere because I've lived everywhere and I've seen it everywhere, have stepped out of powerful positions. They're a lawyer, they're in the corporate world, they were an entrepreneur, they were a designer, but they stepped out of it because they have young kids. And they took the same decision that I did in the sense of prioritizing the kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that your whole life revolves around them,
Yeah.
because thank God we have help. But that energy and that identity, they are now channeling into the whole school system
Oh my
and the
God.
mother system.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And, organizing play dates and birthday parties and being on the WhatsApp group, being in the
This is
class
like
rep.
And bringing Excel
It's really
sheets to the WhatsApp
Pretty
group.
Little Lies, or was it Big Little Liars? What was that show?
Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah.
No, the one with Nicole Kidman.
Big Little Liars.
Oh, Big Little Lies. That
Little
was
Lies
a great
and Little
show.
Fires Everywhere.
Oh, beautiful.
Right.
I've read both the books, by the way.
Oh, you have?
Little Fires Everywhere is a must read.
It's
You
a
have to
lovely
read
I
this
have, for one of the online JLF things, I was in conversation with the writer. So when I watch all these shows set in America and in, in elite neighborhoods in the US and New York, and you see all these moms who've given up their careers, and I've seen that in Bombay too, then they start meddling around the school, they form parent bodies, and they are always charging right at the front to find for the children.
Yeah.
And I always say to myself, you gave up your career and this is your career now.
Yeah.
You're a career mother.
Career moms.
Like a career politician, career
We've all
diplomat, you're
known
a career
them.
mother.
We have a few in our inner circles even.
I feel
God
for
bless
those children.
them.
I really feel for those children.
But I feel for the children.
You're
Yeah.
going to grow up with a mom whose sole focus is just you and your
Yeah.
education.
No,
And class
fortunately,
politics.
this is the great thing about being a geriatric mom. You don't have the energy. Okay. Like and again, I'm very happy because we have wonderful nannies and I'm very grateful for them. So, obviously I send them off for play dates. I never go to a play date or anything
Yeah.
like that. I send them off for their birthday parties. I want to try to find the quality time with them, which actually brings us to why I'm here as well. I need my children to grow up with a grounding and a sense of this country as well, of India. And it's a challenge today to keep our children grounded when you do come from a particular background or strata of society or a kind of a sense of privilege. Because I think, again, everything is so quick. These children just expect instant gratification constantly. And I'm talking about outside of social media. I'm talking about my 6-year-olds. So I'm really happy that I'm here and, in Bombay. I want them to have a connection with the city, even though they lived here.
Yeah.
But they were
They were
3-year-olds.
very young.
They were too young. I don't want them to say, ew, dirty mama,
Yeah.
la la la, and become like one of those kids. So took them to this lovely orphanage, Balasha, where they donated half of their birthday presents.
Lovely.
Initially, reluctantly, I must admit.
Yeah, of course,
but
they're children.
now
It's to be
they're
expected.
yeah, but now, they went and they also met the other kids. And I think it was, it wasn't like an instant boom happened, but I think like cumulatively that will happen. But, I much to my horror, I become that NRI that wants the child to be connected with India because I in my head have never thought of myself as an NRI. Even when I lived in Hong Kong, I was not an NRI. I was always in India and I'm a Bombay girl. But you see it's an issue with kids now. Like, how do you maintain that connection?
Also,
Dennis.
while speaking of that
And
connection,
not get freaking privileged as well.
but Lisa,
live in
when
a
you
bubble.
say that's a very fine line between maintaining that connection and seeing the India that you are in today, because
Yeah.
everyone is flashing their wealth so much. And India is all about
know.
having more, not being more. Shopping and brands and influencer culture. And it's not just on social media. You step outside in your circles, you will see it.
Yeah, I know.
So, you'll have to really pick and choose the kind of India you want to show your children and put blinkers on for them.
Yeah, and put blinkers on.
Yeah.
For instance, we are actually we're working on getting a place in the Nilgiris, for instance.
Ooh.
Like
I've
that's-
always wanted a friend to have a house in the Nilgiris.
Okay, well, there you go. I'll use your house somewhere else. We'll do a house exchange. But, I don't know. I haven't figured it out, but I just know that they need to maintain their connection. They're third culture kids. They don't appear very obviously Indian because actually the blood has been diluted.
Yeah.
Technically, they're
they
like
have
one
blonde
quarter
hair
Indian.
and light hair.
They're
and
one
white
quarter
hair.
Indian now. But it's so important to me.
Your
and
mom
so-
was Polish.
My mom was Polish. So
And
I'm
Jason
half.
is half
Jason is
Lebanese?
Lebanese. He's full Lebanese. He's full
Okay.
Lebanese.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but
Wonderful.
at the same time, I send them for Kathak. I send them to Hindi lessons. I send them for all these things. So, and we talk about Indian all the time and they see that passion in me. In fact, but the funniest thing happened with Soleil today. We were sitting around and having lunch just before this. And she said, Mama, why is it always about your country? Why are we always coming to your country? Poor daddy, we never go to his country.
Oh my
God, from
goodness.
the mouths
I was
of babes.
Where has this come from?
Equal
What is
rights
going
for father.
on?
Equal rights for
Equal
father.
rights for daddy?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Daddies and daughters is
Another level
that is
of love.
undeniable.
Yeah.
But we were in Beirut last year. It just so happens that there's still a war ongoing. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable going to Beirut this year. So, we tried to explain to her, but she actually started bawling. It's very strange what comes out of their minds
Is
these
there a
days.
little Lebanon somewhere you can take
Little Lebanon, yeah.
We'll go for Lebanese food. Well, let's go to Lebanese food in
Take them to
Bombay.
Beirut. You have to get the Beirut.
Beirut,
Bayrout. Take them there.
Beirut.
Yeah.
And Daddy, by the way, being Lebanese, loves Bombay. Like he
Yeah,
loves
yeah.
India and he loves Bombay. But they were suddenly feeling that there's this great, the arms of justice were like completely mismatched. That like somehow we're always going to mummy's country.
What
Palestine.
festivals do you celebrate at home?
Diwali,
Hmm.
Durga Puja
Mhm.
is more important for us.
Okay.
I do havans and things like that at
See,
home.
they're completely going the mother's way. The kids are right. You haven't mentioned anything.
Oh no, Christmas. Christmas.
Okay,
All kids love Christmas.
Yeah.
All kids love
Right.
Any Lebanese festivals?
Christmas. Because
Christmas.
Jason's like a
Yeah.
Christian Lebanese.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then they have other things, Boxing Day and they have all those things, don't they?
We celebrate. A funny thing has happened because I made some Polish friends.
Yeah.
Dubai being as multicultural as it is,
Right.
which is honestly is actually very nice and refreshing. I've met a lot of Polish women who have reignited that connection with my Polish side.
Oh.
So suddenly we find we're being invited for Polish Easter, and there's a particular ritual where we go and we buy the Polish sausages and the bread and the salt, and you put it in a little basket and you take it to the church and have it blessed by the.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
And
really
interesting.
cool. And I found
didn't have any
I
of
have
that?
a taste for Polish sausages all over again.
And
didn't
isn't
have
the
any-
Christmas much later?
No,
No,
that's
Russia
that's
does it
Russian.
Christmas
That's the
in Jan.
Orthodox.
Okay.
That's
I
Orthodox.
see.
Polish or Catholic.
I see.
Hardcore
Okay.
Catholic. Yeah.
But you didn't have any of the Polish rituals while you were growing up?
It was a combination.
Combination.
It was definitely a mixture. But then something happened. This damn Indian influence is so heavy.
Yeah, it's a strong
Plus you
gene.
came
It just overshadows everything.
Plus you came here at 16 and you were here for so long.
yeah. And I speak Polish. I still, because it was one of the languages that I learned. My Polish is probably better
You
than my
spoke to
Hindi
mom in
be.
Polish, did you?
No, not really. My grandmother.
Okay.
My maternal grandmother. And she sent me to church and I did all of that. But equally, I was celebrating Durga Puja and having jinga mach curry and then having pierogis and going to church. So I was, and that's beautiful. And that's kind of this inclusive, holistic.
What fun for kids to be
Kind of-
exposed to so many different
Yeah,
cultures.
but it wasn't as cool at that time when it was happening to me because I didn't have any reference points. There were very few kids like me.
Yeah.
I didn't have any references. They just thought I was really weird.
Tell me, Lisa, to go completely off track, as I keep doing all the time.
Yeah, do it. I love it.
What made you get into NFT? It's completely removed from what you did earlier.
Well, it's art based. It's basically digital art.
Hmm.
So art is another one of those parallel tracks in
Okay.
my life.
Okay.
I swear to God, this is a true story. As soon as I started earning money as a model, I started blowing every single paycheck on art.
Really?
I picked up my first piece of art at Harsh Goenka's art camp. Do you
Okay.
remember those in the 90s? He used to have these
Yeah.
art camps. And I get Bengali. What can I say? So I always thought, look, collecting art was not considered a pursuit of the middle class. So when I was thrown into this world, I did make the best of the situation for myself. Personally, art was always something I aspired to not just enjoy, but to collect.
Okay.
I had that greed about art. So I've collected a lot of art as a young woman. I bought my first Jogin Chaudhary, my Suhas Roy, my Paresh Maiti, my blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I started collecting all of that when I was barely out of my, teens.
Lovely.
So, and I've always been art adjacent to the art world in India. And then very recently, I mean, over the last decade, I started connecting with a lot of newer art galleries like Tark in Bombay. And she introduced me, Hina, who runs it, introduced me to like the next generation of young artists. I just love it. I love buying the art, supporting artists, everything that it stands for. But I have a fair amount of knowledge about the gatekeeping of the art industry as it is today, of the art world. And so there are innate issues, and NFTs actually can cut through all of that. So
Okay.
it's more about finding a new technology to update the art market. That's how I see it. So I co-founded this digital art platform, the Upside Space. I had a blast doing it. I was working with another friend of mine, Natasha Jayasingh, who's an art who's an art consultant. He used to advise me actually about Artist Dubai. And my co-founder is based in Singapore. I got roped into it by my co-founder, Aisha Khan. And I just love the idea of finally being able to do something that was actually not art adjacent, but actually directly connected with art. I love the art world. And for us, we're highlighting the art from the regions that we love, that we're from. Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East.
Are you still doing it?
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. It's still, as in, I'm not involved in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
I help to ideate and conceptualize and promote.
NFTs are doing well again now? Because in between there was a slump.
Yeah. So now, there necessarily has to be a maturing of the market of NFTs, right? It's such a new cutting edge technology that the initial kind of, perception of it in the market was that it's wrapped up with all these memes and, collectibles, not really art, but it was being called art.
Collectible.
So it had to necessarily correct. I'm glad it went through a correction. It works for us as a platform because we're actually dealing with quality art.
Yeah.
So for in layman's terms, what is it that the platform does? It brings the art to anyone who wants it, makes it affordable.
Yeah, so we curate. We work with curators from all these different regions who work with artists who are not necessarily digital natives. A lot of them are traditional artists.
Okay.
And it basically, we bring their art, we digitize it.
Okay.
So it becomes an art piece, which is often based on a physical piece of art, right? Some of our artists are offering the physical piece for free when you buy the digital piece of art. But this ideally creates a greater global audience. It reaches out to a wider audience for these artists that are generally not very well known as well. Like we did this beautiful exhibition on the Devi during Durga Puja. So these were traditional Patachitra artists, or artists from Calcutta who work in very humble, circumstances. But this could potentially offer them an extra income and a way to reach a global audience. That's the dream. Now, we're still, honestly, a couple of years away from that. But we're sort of creating an ecosystem now where people are more open to these conversations, more open to these ways of collecting, more open to collaborating as well. We're actually in conversation with a company in Dubai right now about doing a live and a digital event and bringing together, for instance, this is really exciting, an artist from Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan. That in real world terms, where do they meet? Where can they actually meet in order to, for instance, interact and paint together, create art together? They can't really easily in their home countries, especially between India and Pakistan, right? So the UAE, Dubai will become then the neutral ground. We'll bring them all in. And they will do sort of a residency where they'll create art inspired by each other.
How wonderful.
And that for me, honestly, not just idealistically, but in real world terms, that's actually the, what's the word I'm looking for? That's the promise that NFTs unlock. It really is a promise of a much more seamless, borderless world. So first of all, I want to say that I'm such a fan of this show. I think I was one of your first fans, so remember that.
You were, yes.
Really
so
blow
much.
up. I'm such a fan. So, because I'm also not really your auntie, right? But
None of us are.
It's all good. So I'm so happy to be here on the show. And let me also say that you had me talking more than I normally ever talk. My throat is dry. I consider myself an introvert.
You are. And
I really don't talk so bloody much. And then I have this, we all still have these delusions about myself. I am now in my Zen phase.
Yes.
And I will listen more than I talk.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't really do that, did I?